What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are continuing 2021 schedule preview and predictions for this upcoming year. Yesterday, we did Nevada, our first team from the Mountain West. Today, we're doing yet another team from the SEC, and it's time to talk about the Auburn Tigers. This, to me, is an interesting team coming into 2021. How do I think they're going to fare with Bryan Harsin now taking over at head coach, the old head coach at Boise State? Hey, if you guys are an Auburn fan or you're a college football fan, this is the first, maybe second or third, maybe more videos you've watched of mine, then hey, please do leave a like, hit the subscribe button down below. We just recently passed 300 subscribers. Crazy to me. The channel's almost doubled in size over the past 2 months. So thank you guys so much. Continue to like, subscribe, share the videos, and you can leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on the Auburn Tigers. If you're a fan of another team I haven't covered yet, you can go ahead and leave that team down below. I'll try to fit them in. We got like 3 weeks left before the season, right? Less than that. Like, we have less than a month left. Really excited for college football to be back. But today, talking about the Auburn Tigers in 2021. So, for the Auburn Tigers, this is a pretty big season in my mind, because you have Bo Nix for one more year, and at least, right? Maybe he goes to the NFL, but the way you see it now, probably not. Bryan Harsin coming in as a head coach, and after Auburn necessarily didn't really meet expectations. Like, it was still a solid season for Auburn, but not quite what Auburn fans were hoping for, which led to the firing of Gus Malzahn, which led to the hiring of Bryan Harsin. So we're going to take a look at some players that Auburn is losing this off season. Running back DJ Williams is gone. DJ Williams was a solid running back there at Auburn, of course, with Jatarvius Whitlow leaving. Williams was that guy last year, then happened to emerge to be Tank Bigsby, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But Williams, I believe, ended up transferring over to Florida State. So that is a loss for the Tigers. Pretty substantial one in my mind as well. Now, these next three names are huge losses. The three leading receivers from last year: Elijah Stove, Anthony Schwartz, and Seth Williams. Not necessarily in that order, but all three of those guys, yeah, they all are gone to the NFL. Schwartz and Williams got drafted in the actual NFL draft, and Stove got signed as a rookie free agent. Previous videos, I'd said Seth Williams is coming back. Incorrect. Gone to the NFL. 6th round. I want to say to the Denver Broncos. Could be wrong on that, but I'm almost positive that it was the Denver Broncos. That you have to think the wide receiver position is going to be slim for Bo Nix and the Tigers this year, right? Look at that in a little bit. Daquan Newkirk and Big Cat Bryant, two guys that transferred out. Daquan Newkirk has found a new role. I'm not quite sure about Big Cat Bryant, though. I couldn't find anything on where he landed, but he is not on the depth chart right now. KJ Britt, as the linebacking position, is gone. Chris Thompson is gone as well. Not really a huge loss from the defensive back position, but it's a loss nonetheless. Jamie and Sherwood, Jordan Peters, both those guys went to the NFL. So some big losses leaving Auburn here, but hey, it's not about what you lost. It is about what you have. And well, I already mentioned his name. Bo Nix coming back for at least another year. When he plays well, he's a good quarterback. But inconsistency has been the problem for Bo Nix as of late, right? In the running back position, you got Tank Bigsby and Sean Shivers coming back. Bigsby, you got to think, is going to get more of the load this year by far. But Sean Shivers is still a great second back option. I said the wide receiver position might be a little slim for the Tigers this year. Well, they are getting a transfer. What the portal says is it's a transfer from Georgia. Demetrius Robertson, I believe originally committed to Cal, then went over to Georgia, and that's where he is transferring over from. Should end up being that number 1, if not number 2 target for Bo Nix this year. He really is a good player. Hasn't gotten to prove himself, just hasn't got that playing time. Over the past 2 seasons, I believe has only 500 combined yards. So he should get a chance to prove what he can really do on the field for the Tigers this year. And then Javarius Johnson coming back at the wide receiver position as well. He should be a solid option. Tight end John Samuel Schenker coming back. And then on the defensive side, you got Colby Wooden, who was tied for the most sacks on the team last year. Owen Papo and Zacoby McClain coming back. Those two guys are phenomenal as well at the linebacking position. On the defensive side, or on the defensive backing group, you got Smoke Monday and Roger McCreary. Roger McCreary led the team in interceptions last year with 3, while Smoke Monday had 2 picks of his own, along with 7. McCreary, I believe, had like 70+ tackles as well. So, hey, this is the team that has some solid talent. but can they put it all together under Bryan Harsin? I also do expect the offensive line to get a little bit better, but again, right, that's how much better does it get? I expect it to at least get minimally better. How much better does that get for Auburn this year? Taking a look at the schedule for the Auburn Tigers. Hey, they were 6-5 last year, 6-4 in the SEC, which put them third in the SEC West. Did end up losing the Citrus Bowl to the Northwestern Wildcats. Hey, you guys know how this works. I'm talking about some games more than others because they're more interesting matchups to me. State gets highlighted in green, it's a win. If it gets highlighted in red, it's a loss. Without further ado, let's talk about Auburn in 2021. 2 easy home games to start off the season for the Auburn Tigers in my mind. One of those which a home game against the Akron Zips. This should be an easy one. Akron has not been the best of teams over the past couple of years. Don't necessarily think Akron's going to change that this year either. Again, might win a game or two, maybe 3-4, but Akron surely is not going to upset Auburn first game of the season. And neither is Alabama State, an FCS team nicknamed the Hornets. Yeah, the Hornets won't really have much chance to sting the Tigers here. The Tigers should easily swat the Hornets out of the air, get this game over with. Before, it's a battle of the cats, right? Tigers and Lions meeting in Happy Valley. It's a road game for the Auburn Tigers, and it's a game that I don't think they're going to be able to come away and win. Penn State's got a lot of players leaving this year. Some that opted out, some like Micah Parsons, some like Journey Brown that said they can't play anymore. They had injury last year. The COVID hit. Like, everything just seemed to go wrong for Penn State last year. But when you look at the roster this year, Penn State should rebound. Sean Clifford is a solid quarterback when he plays well. The running back position, especially with John Lovett coming over, the transfer from Baylor, is loaded. You also got Lee and Devin Ford back there as well. The wide receiver position is young. You got Jahan Dotson. You got Parker Washington. And on the defensive side, yes, Parsons is gone. Yes, Owe is gone. But you still got some nice, solid players in every single level, in every single third of the defense this year for Penn State. So Penn State should rebound in a big way. I don't necessarily think Auburn's going to rebound in a big way. Yes, they might play a little bit better this year. The record might not show it because the schedule's pretty tough. I just don't see them coming out of Happy Valley with a win, especially with how much of a factor home field advantage is going to play this year. I'm giving the win to the Lions. So they are the victors of the Cats. Well, another battle of the Cats here. The Panthers of Georgia State are going to get to go on the road to play in Jordan-Hare. Yeah, and I don't see Georgia State winning this game. So for Auburn, hey, you're starting out 3-1. It's looking like a promising start, but then you have to get into SEC play. And in my opinion, from the schedules that I've looked at thus far, I do think this is probably the hardest schedule for any team in the SEC that I have seen. This is crazy. Like these are some hard games, and the first 3 that Auburn has to open up with going to be really hard before their bye week. Starts out with a road game against LSU. Okay, in Death Valley, again, home field advantage. I'm going to put red up on the screen right now because I don't think Auburn's going to win this game. LSU, to me, is the more talented team. I have said how much I'm not necessarily high on LSU. Do I think they're going to play better than last year? Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. The offense should be a lot better. You had a lot of opt-outs last year, some injuries as well. And on the defensive side, that defense was pretty young. Inexperienced. They got beat in a lot of places as well. And this LSU defense should be a lot more experienced last year. But how much better does it get for LSU, right, is the question. Ed Odron has said of the 2 quarterbacks that are still there. Of course, TJ Finley transferred out. I believe even went over to Auburn, did TJ Finley. But when you're talking about Brennan and Johnson, he said these 2 guys can go out and win a national championship. Maybe. Analytics might support that. Stats might support that. To me, that's kind of an statement. When I first saw the statement, I was like, okay, sure, okay. We're reading it now. It's kind of like an statement. Like LSU's definitely going to get a lot better this year. How much better does it get for the Tigers? But we're not talking about the Bayou Bengals in this video. We're talking about the Auburn Tigers. And for this game in particular, especially with it being on the road in Death Valley, I don't see a way that Auburn wins this game. LSU, clearly the more talented team. They have the more talented roster, better head coach, in my opinion, as well. LSU wins the game. And then a home game against Georgia. So the deepest rivalry or the longest rivalry, whatever the saying is, oldest rivalry in the Deep South. There you go. Sorry, couldn't speak. Oldest rivalry in the Deep South between Georgia and Auburn. I don't see this one being super competitive this year. Georgia is going to be a team that's going to compete for a college football playoff spot, or at least they should, right? JT Daniels didn't make my top 10 quarterback list, as I've just never been sold on JT Daniels, but he's still a phenomenal quarterback. I mean, you cannot deny his skill set. You can't deny the talent he has. You also can't deny the talent around him. And even with George Pickens gone for the season, potentially could come back for the playoffs if Georgia makes it. But who knows, right? So with George Pickens potentially gone for the season, this is still the best group of pass catchers Georgia maybe has ever had. And the defense should be really, really good as well. So for Auburn, I think this is going to be a long 60 minutes for Tiger fans in Jordan-Hare. Bulldogs win this one. And then a road game against Arkansas. You know what? Let's make it 3 straight. I don't think Auburn's going to beat Arkansas. I think Arkansas is getting overlooked this year. I really do. I think Arkansas is getting overlooked this year. When you look at Arkansas, some solid pieces on the offensive side, some solid pieces on the defensive side, although they have a lot to improve on that side of the ball. But for Arkansas, it's about, can KJ Jefferson take that next step at quarterback, right? That is the question for me for this Arkansas team. Last year, when you watch this game, I actually just went back and watched it recently. But when you go back to watch this game, Arkansas kind of got cheated out of a win, a big controversial call, which dropped Arkansas from the potential 4-6 to 3-7. And helped Auburn make a bowl game. They probably still would have made a bowl game afterwards. They would have been 500, but really did help their case. So this game, I think Arkansas is going to be looking for revenge. They're going to be looking to win. And Arkansas, to me, playing at home too, especially, I think they do enough to squeak out this win here. So I have Arkansas beating Auburn before the bye week against Auburn. Okay, if you're an Auburn fan, you're an Auburn player, you're looking at the rest of the schedule. You got 3 pretty hard games left, including this one here against Ole Miss. Realistically, you got to win probably at least one to save yourself and make a bowl game. And to me, I do think the most likely win here is this game against Ole Miss. I am putting green up on the screen. I do not think Bryan Harsin is going to let his squad lose 4 games in a row. I think if Auburn here loses to LSU, Georgia, Arkansas, Ole Miss, back to back, then the hope is lost for Auburn, and there's no way they're going to be able to get back into a bowl game because then they still got Texas A&M and Bama on the schedule. So you got to win at least one of these 3 games. You have to win a big game to make a bowl game, and I think this is the game that Auburn wins. That's big. Of course, Ole Miss returning Matt Corral. He's got to eliminate some of the mistakes, the 11 interceptions in 2 games. Got to get rid of those. He's also Matt Corral's still a really solid quarterback. The defense got to get better for Ole Miss as well. And I think that's, this is the game where Ole Miss struggles. I feel like, they're probably looking ahead to their next game. And then when you look the game before that, probably a hard-fought game as well. Ole Miss, I do see going down. So the Tigers win this one. Then the road game against the Aggies. For people to say that the Aggies are going to be right back to where they were last year is absurd. The game being in Kyle Field, I am going to give the win here to Texas A&M. A lot of people are saying Haynes King is better than Kellen Mond. He was better. He would have started last year, right? That's how sports work. If you're better, you start. Yes, I think Haynes King could be a good quarterback. We also don't know if he's going to start. Zach Calzada is still there. But when you look at the talent, it's just too much talent for the Aggies to lose this game. I don't think Auburn wins. Now you got to win 2 out of your last 3. Home game against Mississippi State, and I think they win this one. Look, I've never been high on Mississippi State up to this point. A lot of people have told me how they can see that. Look, Mississippi State had a lot of injuries last year, a lot of suspensions as well. And now, especially with that Tulsa fight, there could be more of those. But of course, this is a late season game. But with this being at home, I do think Auburn wins this game. Give Mike Leach maybe this year, maybe next, to really figure out how this passing attack is going to go. Did it well at Washington State. I think it's got to figure it out here in the SEC, a much tougher conference. I think Auburn gets the win. A road game against South Carolina. I'd watch out for this game if I were an Auburn fan. South Carolina's got a lot of good defensive players in that defensive front 7 that can slow Tank Bigsby, that can slow down the rushing attack, and even in the secondary as well, that potentially could provide some big defensive plays in the in the passing attack. Auburn's got to watch out for this game, especially with Kevin Harris also on the offensive side. But then speaking of that, South Carolina's losing too much. I do think Auburn gets the win. So you make a bowl game. But I also don't think you win the Iron Bowl against Bama. Bama's just looked too good in the spring and summer. I don't think you guys can beat Alabama this year with the way that Alabama's been playing. I know the game's in Jordan-Hare. I know the history with the Iron Bowl. I know it's really competitive. It's like the Ohio State, Michigan of the SEC. Can't see a win in this one. So with that, congratulations, Auburn fans, with your first year head coach in Bryan Harsin. You make a bowl game. I think you guys are going to go 6-6. That absolute ceiling for me is 9-3. But this schedule is really hard. I think the ceiling for Auburn maybe is more like an 8-4. 9-3 could happen if they play exceptionally well. And that floor for me, I see is 4-8. Again, this is a hard schedule, and the only 4 guaranteed wins on this schedule I could see, well, maybe Akron, Alabama State, Georgia State, and then 1 game in the SEC. Really, that's about it. And I mean, I think if Auburn were to go 4-8 this year, that's a huge disappointment. And I think a lot of Auburn fans are going to be like, okay, why did we get rid of Gus Malzahn? You know why you got rid of Gus Malzahn, but then you might be thinking, why do we hire Bryan Harsin? Look, Harsin, I think, is going to be a good head coach for Auburn. I think he was a really good head coach at Boise State. Give Auburn some time. This year, I think they'll go 6-6. Next couple of years, I think Auburn could get back up to what they've been in the past couple of seasons. That's going to do it for me for the Auburn Tigers. Hey, if you guys are an Auburn fan, college football fan, you made it this far, leave a like, subscribe, share the video as well. You can also leave a comment down below. Hey, if you're a fan of a team that I haven't covered yet, please do leave a comment down below, and I'll try to fit your team in. Hey, tomorrow we're going to be talking about a team from the Big Ten, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Can they make a bowl game again under Greg Schiano? You're going to find out tomorrow. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Rutgers up tomorrow. Goodbye.